You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
County. It encompasses 155 acres. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news. It's free throughout the day. Don Hartley, Tuscaloosa Media, Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Gary Harris. This leap day, or leap year Thursday. It's February 29th. We only get this once every 4 years, but we get it this year. The final day of February is the 29th. Happy leap year, everyone. If you were born on the 29th, you actually get to celebrate your birthday this year on the 29th. Otherwise, if you were born on the 29th of February, Justin, do you think you would celebrate it on the non-leap years on the 28th or March the 1st?
You know, funny enough, Gary, I used to have a friend from elementary school, middle school, that their birthday was February 29th. Mm-hmm. They celebrated it on the 28th.
Yeah, I think I'd probably do the 28th too. Just my feeling. Although I guess maybe if, I don't know, depending on what day of the week it is, if it, maybe if the 28th was a Sunday, or let's say, or I don't know. Yeah, I'd probably go on the 28th.
Pick whichever day I think is better. If it's on a weekend, if you have a choice between a Thursday and a Friday, pick the Friday.
Yeah, right. Or maybe the 28th is on a Friday and you're working, and then you're off on the Saturday, which is the March the 1st. Yeah, you'd probably do it on the Saturday. But either way, happy birthday to you out there if you were born on February the 29th. I'm Gary Harris. He's Justin Jones. We're ready to roll here on the Gary Harris Show. We got a really loaded show today, a show we're excited about, and we will run it down for you in just a second. First, though, I need to tell you this hour of the Gary Harris Show being brought to you, as always, by Alabama Credit Union, member-owned and not-for-profit. It's just a better way of banking. I encourage you to find out more about all the membership privileges of Alabama Credit Union. Don't be a customer, be a member. Find out more at alabamacu.com or get by and see them at one of their many locations around the great state of Alabama. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, like I said, we are loaded today. And at 9:30, looking forward to visiting with Jody Wright, who is the head coach at Murray State in Kentucky, but has a long coaching history here in West Alabama. He played at Pickens Academy for the late Lynn Wright, his legendary father, who was a terrific high school coach. His brother Jonathan is the head coach at Bessemer Academy. His brother Josh is the head coach at Tuscaloosa Academy. Jody has worked at Alabama for Nick Saban, worked at numerous college stops, worked in the NFL with the Giants and the Browns, and now gets his first opportunity to be a head coach in college football. Can't wait to visit with Jody, Coach Jody Wright, at 9:30. At 10 o'clock, James Fletcher, who is a bracketologist for On3 Sports, is going to be with us to kind of look ahead of the NCAA tournament. Where does he think Alabama is going to be as far as a seed and where they might wind up? We'll have that conversation. Then at 10:30, my pal Jeff Spiegel, longtime sports anchor at ABC 3340, host of The Zone, on Sunday nights. He'll be with us. Plus, Nate Oates and Alabama. That game didn't finish up last night till, I guess it was about 10:20 at night over there at the Pavilion. Alabama with a 64-point second half to win that game. Wound up winning it going away over Ole Miss. And just an impressive second half performance by Alabama. And a huge win, because what that does, it keeps them tied with Tennessee for the lead in the SEC. And, of course, we know Tennessee is coming to Tuscaloosa this Saturday. Game day will be here that morning. Pardon me. And Alabama and Tennessee will play that night at 8 p.m. So we'll hear from Coach Nate Oates, his post-game comments last night, which didn't happen until by the time the game was over and he got back and did his media session. It was after 10:30 at night. So for a lot of you, these comments may be the first time that you have heard them. So we are packed this morning. If you want to get involved in the program, the First and Main Condominiums hotline in hour number 1 at 205-342-9904. That's 205-342-9904. It's 9:06. And Justin, let's go ahead and hit them up with some Thursday morning leap year headlines here on the Gary Harris Show. As we said, Alabama basketball did not get off to a good start. In fact, they trailed by as many as 15 in the game against Ole Miss. And we're down, I think, 12 or so with about 3 or 4 minutes to go in the half. But this is where I think they won the game, Justin. They ended the first half, on a nice little run. Sears hit a 3 at the buzzer. So all of a sudden, they were down just 3 points at the break after trailing most of that first half by double digits. They came out in the second half and quickly took charge, opened up a 9-point lead themselves. But then Ole Miss rallied to tie it at 65. And you thought, well, this game's going to go down to the buzzer. But right after Ole Miss tied it, Alabama came back down, and Ryland Griffin, who had a terrible first half but a great second half, hit a 3. And then Alabama was off and running. No Latrell Reitzel Jr. again last night. But this is the thing about this Alabama team. They got different guys that can step up. And last night, it was the freshman guard out of Richmond, Virginia, Davin Cosby, 15 points on 5 of 10 shooting. All 5 of his field goals were three-pointers. And even the ones that didn't go in, Justin, he was having that night when it left his hand, they all looked like they were going in. But he has 15. Mark Sears does the usual Mark Sears thing. He goes 8 of 14 from the field, 3 of 8 from 3. He had 26. He did miss a free throw, which is noteworthy because he don't miss many. He went 7 of 8, but he missed one.
He missed it, too, right after the broadcast emphasized his mom's free throw shooting form.
It's the announcer jinx, yeah. But he also had 5 rebounds and 4 assists. What about Aaron Estrada as a guard getting the triple-double? 18 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. He was phenomenal. Alabama just in that second half, when you hang 64 on a team, and I was on another show this morning before I did my show and was asked about Alabama on defense. And, obviously they got to defend better than they did against Kentucky, although Kentucky shot the lights out. I don't know if anybody would beat Kentucky on Saturday. But they're not going to reinvent themselves. This is not going to be a great defensive team. The good news is, they don't have to hold people to 75 points to win. I mean, they just have to be better on defense. They just have to be pretty good on defense. They don't have to shut you down, like I said, and hold you to 62 or some number to win. You can score 80, 85 against Alabama, and they can still beat you. They just can't give up 117 like they did at Kentucky. But that sets up the showdown with Tennessee. As I said on Saturday night, the Vols had their hands full with Auburn. For much of that game, and like Auburn was the better team, but you saw down the stretch, Connect outscored Auburn, I think, 29-25 or something over like the last 12 minutes. He went nuts in that game. Dalton Connect finished with 39 points. Tennessee gets the win 92-84. So now we're set up. Both Alabama and Tennessee are 12-3 with 3 games to go. And Tennessee is in here on Saturday night. On the other, in the other game last night, other 2 games, A&M's reeling. They've lost 5 in a row. South Carolina goes into College Station and gets the win 70-68. After A&M tied it up, it was South Carolina hitting a shot with about 3 seconds to go, and then Wade Taylor dribbled it off his foot, and A&M didn't get a shot at the end. Florida wins at home as expected over Missouri. 83-74 was the final in that one. Stillman men's basketball beginning play in the SCAC tournament in Montgomery. Today they will play Loyola University. They are the number 2 seed. Their women yesterday played and beat Blue Mountain 63-56. So you got the Southern States Athletic Conference tournament going on. What's unique about this, Justin, is you got the Southern States Athletic Conference tournament going on in Montgomery, where Stillman is playing. But next year they join the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference. And the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference is being hosted this week at Stillman College. And we'll have the commissioner of that conference on again tomorrow. We had her on a couple months ago, but I'll have her on in the morning as well. So kind of unique that Stillman's playing in one tournament and hosting another. So that's an interesting situation. Hillcrest girls yesterday, Class 6A semifinals at the Legacy Arena. They played the 6-time defending champion Hazel Green Trojans. They jumped out. Hillcrest did to a 16-4 lead, Justin, and still led at half. But there's a reason you win 6 state championships in a row, right? And Hazel Green came back to win it 52-38. Still, though, a great season for the Hillcrest girls. The American Christian Academy boys try to finish off a Cinderella story. They play Jackson tomorrow evening at 5:45 for the boys 4A state championship. Remember, their head coach, Blake Thrasher, great guy, great coach, played at Alabama. He's battling cancer. So Austin Grammer, who played at ACA, steps in, and right now as the interim head coach, he is 1 win away from leading the Patriots to a 4A state championship. That's a heck of a story in itself. NBA last night, I know you heard it in the Fox Sports headlines before we came on, but the Lakers trailed the Clippers by 21 in the fourth quarter and came back and won it. LeBron went nuts in that game. And that's a bad loss for the Clips, a huge win for the Lakers. NFL free agency, of course, is right around the corner. We've talked about it this week. Where will Derrick Henry wind up? It's going to be interesting to see. Can't wait to see. You know, there's some talk now that the Titans may try to keep him in Tennessee, but I don't think that's going to work out. I think he's going to want to go to a team. He's 30 years old where he has an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. So that's a check of headlines. We're off and running on the Gary Harris Show. Tom, hold tight. You'll lead us off when we come back on the other side of the break. And can't wait to talk to Jody Wright at 9:30. This is the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC.
This season of Alabama football on Tide 100.9 brought to you by Birmingham Racecourse Casino. Just a few minutes away where you can be a winner too.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's a daily update on Bama sports and it's brought to you by CB&S Bank. Bank anywhere, at any time with CB&S Bank's digital solutions. Managing your finances has never been so easy. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. On Tuesday night, Alabama baseball improved to 9-0 on the season thanks to a 10-inning 9-7 victory against UAB. Head coach Rob Vaughn joined us on the radio after the win.
Man, just a lot of grit and toughness, to be honest with you. I mean, I thought we swung the bat awesome, really, from early on. We just, man, it seemed like every ball we were on the barrel with was right at them. We had a tough wind blowing across, had some balls knocked down to right, but I loved our at-bats. We just didn't have anything going, and they kind of had everything going. You know, it seemed like every ball they hit and play ended up kind of squeaking through the infield and doing that, and our guys just kept coming. You know, it was an emotional game. The crowd was great, but I thought we were able to. I talked a lot to our guys, but, man, I want us to play with emotion, but I don't want us emotional. And we were kind of teetering on the emotional line there for a little while, but we were able to be ourselves and kind of do our talking with the bats and in the arms and found a way to get it done on the road, which is huge.
I'll have more in moments.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations. You could say we know a thing or two about tradition. We've been family, community, and financially strong since we began in 1906. Being a team player is part of our culture. That's why at CB&S Bank, we're proud to sponsor the University of Alabama Athletics and prouder to take the field or court with you. Visit cbsbank.com today. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Join us this afternoon for Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Streaming live at 2 p.m. Central on all.
Garland Boulevard West, Krispy Kreme is open 7 days a week. To see our complete donut, coffee, and espresso menu, visit our website at KrispyKremeTuscaloosa.com. Krispy Kreme, hot now and anytime.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The weather cool and dry today. The sky partially sunny, the high 55. Tonight becoming cloudy, a chance of some light rain after midnight, the low 44. Tomorrow a cloudy and cool day with occasional rain. Tomorrow's high at 56. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 42 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
9:17. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. We're going to jump out on the First and Main Condominiums hotline and talk with Tom. Good morning, Tom.
Morning, Gary. Thanks for taking my call. I really enjoy the show.
Thanks.
The coach at Carver, Montgomery. Who is he?
The basketball coach?
Yeah.
It's not James Jackson anymore. I have to look at
Brian Williams, isn't it?
No, I don't think so. Hang on. Let me double check. Because they lost a tough one over there. Hang on a second.
Is it maybe Reggie Sprouse?
Huh?
Reggie Sprouse? That's what Max Preps has it listed as.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to look it up, too. Yeah, it's Reggie Sprouse is the coach's name, Tom.
Who am I thinking about?
Well, you're thinking about the great Brian Williams who played at Alabama, but he's not.
That's it.
Yeah, but he's not the coach.
It's not?
No, we just told you it's
I
Reggie.
wonder how I came up with that.
I don't know. Maybe he was at one time.
He was a great ball player, if I remember right, and there was a discussion going on that I fell into, and they were talking about the young man from Buckhorn, Hope.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable player. You know, real quick note on Carver. You know, like I said, maybe you got him confused. You know, J.J. Jackson, who played here on that 87 team that
correct.
Yeah, he was the coach at Carver for a long, long time, and I think went over 500 games and won several state championships. I don't know what Brian Williams is doing now. I'll try to find out. But get back to the kid at Buckhorn who's a phenomenal player.
Yeah, thanks for that. But the discussion was the greatest high school player in the playoff in history, right? And Brian, he said, "Oh, that's a big statement when you throw that out there, considering the history of basketball in the state of Alabama at the high school level." And but they came down and they got Ronald Steele came up in the conversation because he won 3 state championships.
John Carroll, yeah.
And Brian said, well, you know, that might be in danger with Hope because it's possible, because they won it when he was a freshman, that he could end up being a 4-time state champion, you know, in a row. And I got to thinking about that, and I thought, my Lord, that's some kind of an accomplishment.
Well, he had 37
right
yesterday against Salina. I know he's being recruited. Caleb Holt is by schools all over the country. I think he's got one more year of high school after this, Tom, or maybe 2.
Yeah. Oh, 2.
Yeah, 2. Yeah, that's right, 2. So
he's rated as the number 1 sophomore. If I hadn't crossed up my lines like I have everything else, he's rated the number 1 sophomore in the United States.
Yeah, I think he's right there. Yeah, I think he's in the top 3 or 4, and maybe some lists have him number 1. Yeah, he's a phenomenal player. For people that don't know, we're talking about Caleb Holt from Buckhorn High School, who's 6'5", can handle, can shoot to 3, can get to the rim, probably, you know, has a really good basketball body. He's probably already about 195 pounds or so as a sophomore, and, you know, I mean, he's special. There's no doubt about it.
The more he watches it, the more he likes it. And I thought, now that's huge right there, because God knows how many great players he coached and seen over the years.
Now, who was that? Because you went out for a minute. Who said that?
Coach Wimp.
Oh, yeah,
Said that this morning. You know, he's a big fan of the state tournament.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We all are.
And he made the comment this morning. I found it kind of sad in some respects. I don't expect anybody else to sympathize with me about it, but he said, you know, I've always loved that, going up there when I was looking for players or recruiting players, And he said, now just go as a fan. And you know what Coach Sanderson means to most all of us that are Bama basketball fans. But at any rate, I was thinking about that. If that young man wins 4 on the team that he's on, wins 4 state championships, that is huge. And then, people kicking around the title of best player ever in the history of Alabama basketball, state championship players.
Yeah.
And, God, that's something else.
Well, like you said, they won it. They won it last year. They're the favorite to win it this year. No, I'm going to tell you this. Helena gave them a game yesterday. Now I'll tell you that Helena gave them a ball game. But it was Holt that he took over that game in the fourth quarter and led his team to win. And yeah, you're right. I'm glad you brought him up because I didn't go to the game, but I got some video of it and showed it last night on my sportscast. And, just watching the highlights of him play. I mean, again, you're talking 6'5", 6'6", can handle the basketball, can shoot from the perimeter, can get to the rim. I mean, he is a guy that is the modern day type of player. And again, I know it's 2 years away, but boy, he would fit into Nate Oates' system just perfectly. I mean, he really would.
It appears, and I haven't got to see him play. I was hoping to get to go tomorrow and this weekend, and with Alabama playing, I can't go on Saturday, and then other things tomorrow I can't go. But at any rate, I'm interested in, is he somebody that will be interested in Alabama?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, he's an in-state guy. I mean, again, Alabama plays a system that guys want to play in. In addition to the 37 points yesterday, he had 7 rebounds, 6 assists, or 6 steals and 4 assists. So he's not just a scorer. He's a great defender. Yeah, you're right. He's one of the best players in the country, in his class. And as you said, in contention to be the number 1 player, in the country, when he gets to be a senior. So it's, he's one to watch. That's for sure.
Can I ask one more thing, and then I swear I'm going to get out of the way?
Yeah.
Help me out here, wrap my head around some things with Alabama going forward after the win last night. Okay, this is from Tom's dream. Tennessee comes in Saturday, we beat them. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, then we go next week to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But when we beat Tennessee, can we take a sigh of relief and say, okay, that's it, we're done. We've won the regular season?
No, you can't at all. You can't.
Well, then I don't like it.
What now?
I said, I don't like it then.
Well, I mean, now listen, if Alabama wins Saturday night, are they the favorite to win the SEC outright? And yeah, I mean, if they beat Tennessee and they beat Arkansas, even if they lose to Florida, Alabama's going to get, I'm confident, at least a piece of the SEC championship. Obviously, if they win out, they're going to win it outright because, but I think if Alabama can win 2 of the last 3, at worst, they're going to get a tie for the SEC regular season championship. So the game Saturday night's huge. I think they're going to beat Tennessee. I think they're going to lose at Florida, and I think they'll beat Arkansas. So that's the way I think it's going to go down.
I'm scared to death of freaking Florida. I watched a little bit of their game last night. They scared the crap out of me.
Well, they're good. They should. They almost won here in Tuscaloosa. But Alabama's capable of going down there and winning. I'm not saying they will. I mean, you look at their 3 losses in the league. They were against good teams on the road, and they got blown out in every one of them. They got blown out at Tennessee. They got blown out at Auburn. They got blown out at Kentucky. So would it shock me next Wednesday night if they got blown out at Florida? It wouldn't shock me. So, but, it doesn't matter. If you can win, I'm telling you, if you win, you beat Tennessee and you beat Arkansas, you're going to get at least a tie of the SEC regular season championship, guaranteed.
Thanks, Gary.
All right, Tom. Thank you. Great call. It's 9:26 here on the Gary Harris Show. And, getting back to Caleb Holt, and I don't follow high school. I still follow it, obviously, but I used to. Man, if there was a top player in high school football or high school basketball, I was all over him as far as tracking them and all that. I don't do that anymore, per se, but Caleb Holt, if you follow high school sports at all, you know about him. And You know, he is special. I mean, through the history of Alabama high school basketball that I've been following, I mean, you know, you've had going back to the 70s as far as, you know, Eddie Phillips and Reginald King and Leon Douglas and Kent Looney, and, you know, you get into the 80s with Enos Watley and Bobby Lee Hurt and Charles Barkley and Jeff Moore and you know, and you get in later with Gerald Wallace and Ronald Steele. I mean, there have been great players that have come through the high school ranks in Alabama. But Caleb Holt is certainly one of them. There's no doubt about that. All right, it is 9:27 and we're going to get to the break. And when we come back, can't wait to visit with Jody Wright, head football coach at Murray State, and has earned that opportunity. Of course, as I said, played at Pickens Academy, played at Jacksonville State, started his coaching career at Jacksonville State, then at Mississippi.
Get started on your next job today with the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after-hours events, rehearsal dinners, receptions, and birthdays. They offer brunch and lunch catering. Call Brick and Spoon at 205-345-5551 for more information.
Never miss a moment of the action. Download the free Tide 100.9 app today.
In Alabama, no matter where I lay my head.
9:31, welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and we wanted to play My Home's in Alabama because Jody Wright is Alabama as it gets when it comes to football. Played at Pickens Academy for his late dad, Lynn Wright, legendary high school coach. Jody went on to play running back at Jacksonville State, and has spent time, of course, at Alabama, coaching under Nick Saban, back at Jacksonville State, UAB. His brother, Josh is the head coach at Tuscaloosa Academy. His brother John's the head coach at Bessemer Academy. So he's Alabama all the way, but now he gets an exciting opportunity. His first chance to be a head coach, the Murray State Racers there in Kentucky, and Coach Jody Wright is with us this morning. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Gary, man. I love that. I love that song, man. That's one of my all-time favorite. Randy O was old Jack State grad.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Yeah, two Jack State guys, and that's why we wanted to play it, because you're Alabama to the core, but your coaching career, I like a lot of coaches. I mean, it's taken you everywhere from in-state to the National Football League. In the SEC at South Carolina, at Alabama. I mean, again, you coached at JSU, Mississippi State, Alabama, UAB, Cleveland Browns, New York Giants, South Carolina, but now this opportunity. So let's start right with where you're at right now. This chance to take over FCS Murray State, a team that's a school, let's be honest, probably known more for basketball. They had some great basketball teams, but Murray State football has been a little bit down, but you're tasked with the job of getting them back good, and talk about this opportunity that you've got, please.
Well, it's amazing every day Murray State figure out some type of connection back to Alabama. Coach Prone, the basketball coach here right now, Coach Godfrey's staff and different people, and Joe Panunzio, I was fortunate enough to work with at the University of Alabama, was the head coach here. Actually, last time they won a conference championship, and I got to reach out and talk to him. Of course, he's with the Philadelphia Eagles now, about the job, and he kind of told me it's great people, great community, and kind of the football history. And I remember when we played here, I always remember the horse running around the track. They had a thoroughbred. They'd run around the track every time they scored. So I told everybody when I got here, we got to get that racehorse running a little more. So that's going to be kind of our goal, get the horse going a little bit. But it's been great. Like I said, I've been very blessed to be around, whether it was Sylvester Croom at Mississippi State. I actually got to start with Jack Crow at Jacksonville State. Give me an opportunity to play college football. And then had a knee injury and got into coaching a little earlier than I thought I would, but it was probably one of the best things ever happened to me. But being able to learn under Jack Crow and Sylvester Croom and then being fortunate enough with Coach Saban for 6 years was just the most amazing time, and then, with Bill Clark at UAB. And, like I said, I've been blessed to be around so many. Shane Beamer at South Carolina, so many great coaches, Freddie Kitchens at the Browns, that you got to be around. But it seems like every staff I go to, we all have some good Alabama memories and everything. And one of my favorite things when I was growing up, my uncle Barry Howell, he was a big Tider Insider fan and follow you. So when I was little, I used to read all your stuff, Gary. When he was coming up, all y'all's recruiting stuff, man. So that's probably where I learned what little bit I know about football recruiting. So.
Well, I hope you didn't take too much of what I had, what I said to heart. But no, this you kind of laid it out, man. What a great story, and kind of represents how hard it is, the grind of coaching. I know now there's so much talk about how much coaches make and all that kind of stuff, but boy, it's a grind to get there. And I definitely want to go back and visit with you in a minute about working for Coach Saban. But let me ask you about Murray State, because I for so long I thought of Murray State being in the Ohio Valley Conference, but now football is in the Missouri Valley. Am I correct there?
Yes, we are, and I would consider it the SEC, and then some for FCS football. So we're going to have a fun challenge, but we're ready to embrace it.
What taking over a program that the last couple of years has not been very good. Your first chance to be a head coach. I know it's been a whirlwind, but is it everything from recruiting to getting a staff together? What's that been like for you?
The first thing I always think of is, you got to surround yourself, with winning people. And that was one thing my dad always tried to do and preach. And I always figure out if you get enough winners, and the winning will take care of itself, no matter what industry you're in, I believe. So, the first thing I tried to do was, control what I could control, which was put together the best coaching staff I could. And I tried to find coaches that had coached Bobby Williams, long time in Alabama. His son, Nick Williams, was with us at the Giants. He's my receivers coach. And, Adam Ross and Jimmy Ogle, guys that had coached at Jacksonville State, been coordinators at Richmond. And, Adam had been at the University of West Alabama before. But I tried to get guys that had coached at this level, or kind of, been there. I said, if a guy's only played in the NFL and coached the NFL, you try to come coach at, FCS, you may not understand it. It's kind of like some guys have never been in the SEC, understanding the dynamics of, the relentless recruiting and different things that go on. And I also wanted to get guys that kind of knew the footprint, because I believe at Murray State, you take Quentin Williams' brother, Quincy Williams, that's an all-pro linebacker for the Jets, right there in Birmingham, Alabama, that they got to come to Murray State. So we're close enough. I believe that I wanted to get guys that had connections. Number one, good men, but number two, that had connections that we felt like we could go recruit good players. That's one thing I learned from Coach Saban that was always ingrained in me. Like his first year at Alabama, you've got to try to build your foundation in recruiting, and now roster management is a little bit different with the portal and NIL.
Right.
But I also told our coaches we're not going to turn down great high school players. And I thought we were able to get some really good high school players this year that we signed. We signed a big running back, Jordan Washington, out of Helena, who I was, thought he was good enough to be in the SEC.
I watched him. I'm telling you, man. Yeah, he is a player. That is a great pickup.
I learned something from listening to you all those years.
Yeah, he's a football player. I'm with you 100% on that one, Coach.
And we were able to get another running back out of Moody, and we some different guys. We got one from Josh Nibler over in Gainesville, Georgia, Baxter Wright. And we had a lot of guys on my staff. Their dads are either high school coaches or were high school coaches, so they got a lot of connections, and it helped with I think a lot of times I feel really bad right now, the dynamic we're in, because a lot of high school coaches and high school players are in tough positions because parents are looking at them like, why does my son not have a scholarship? And at the same time, I know there's probably college football programs that are like, hey, our jobs are on the line. We'd rather get a portal quarterback or a portal running back than a guy coming in from high school year one. But I believe, you still got to build your foundation with high school players. And I think Kirby Smart at Georgia and Coach Saban's kind of living proof of that. The last couple of years, they still signed a lot of good high school players, and they went all just portal. and you almost have to treat it, I feel like, how junior college was recruiting back in the day. You better have 75 or 80% of your roster. Kind of like NFL, you can't build your team through free agency, but you can kind of, a Band-Aid here or a missing piece or kind of remodel some areas here with an upgrade. But I do still think your core needs to be built off high school talent.
Is your family acclimating well? Because I know that, like I said, you guys have been making a lot of moves in the last few years. Or is everybody settling in there in Kentucky pretty well?
Oh, yeah. Well, my wife, she's from Tuscaloosa, went to Tuscaloosa Academy, University of Alabama grad. So, we're going to be there a whole lot. But they're going to move here in May. When they get out of school, they're still in school in Columbia. So I got 3 children.
That's right. School stuff, yeah.
So they'll be here in May, which is kind of good. I've been so busy trying to, you got to come in and learn all your current players. And then, our goals, we start spring practice Friday night. So we're going to do like a Friday Night Lights type of start practice, inviting open to the public and everything. And so we're going to, practice there. Like I told our coaches, our goal out of spring is just evaluate our players. What can they do well? Don't tell me what they can't do. We can say that. What can they do? What's a redeeming quality anybody can do well? And so hopefully I told them we need to find out who can block somebody and who can't be blocked on the defensive side of the ball, and who can make somebody miss with the ball and who can kind of get somebody tackled when they do have a football, and different things like that. So we're gonna have a good spring, but it's gonna be a lot of just playing. I said the only way you can tell how good you are in football is to play football. So we're going to be playing a lot of football this spring and kind of evaluating there.
Murray State head coach Jody Wright with us. You mentioned doing the Friday Night Lights deal. What's your sense on the fan base? Are they ready to get excited and get behind football there?
They are, and you look at the tradition of Murray State, whether it's Frank Beamer had won championships here, Virginia Tech, Houston Nutt had won championships here. And, they've had a lot of, Mike Godfrey has been the head coach here. They've had a lot of coaches and winning here. And, everywhere you go to the basketball game, they're, Coach, we're so excited for football. And even last year, being 2-9, jumping into a new conference, they've had great support. And I think top 25 in attendance the past 2 years, with having losing seasons. So it's very good, support, which has been amazing, being an hour and a half, west of Nashville, but we're kind of, SEMO, Southeast Missouri, but there's really no other big Division I program. I guess Vanderbilt would probably be the closest to us, but we're going to have an interesting schedule next year. We get to open up, I believe, college football. One of the first games in the SEC. We get to go play the Missouri Tigers, game 1. So that'll be a first fun game as the head coach, but we're excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, it'll be a great opportunity. Missouri's really good, but right off the bat to jump in and play an SEC team, that'll be great for your young men. All right, let's track. You've already laid it out pretty well, but you have worked with and for some marvelous coaches. You mentioned Jack Crow. Of course, I know you had a great association with Ellis Johnson. Of course, Bill Clark, as you alluded to, Freddie Kitchens, Joe Judge, Shane Beamer, but Nick Saban twice at Alabama, the GOAT, recently retired. How did he help shape you as a coach? Your experience watching him, learning from him. What was that like to be a guy that can trace his coaching tree back to Nick Saban?
It was such an honor and privilege, and I thank Sylvester Croom for helping me get the opportunity to get in front of him, and but Coach Saban was, every day you learn something, and, just kind of, whether it was roster management or how he dealt with a discipline issue or just how practice was organized. And there wasn't really any wasted, time at practice or even during his work day. And, I think some people thought Coach Saban worked 24 hours a day. He was very, he would get to the office, of course, early in the morning, 7:15, 7:30, but when he was there, it was, I always say every day's work, University of Alabama got their money's worth and probably 100-fold. But he was so great to me, when I was a young GA and then leaving to go to Bill Clark and giving me advice. And then, when I was at UAB and the football program got shut down and, him calling and offering me the director of player personnel job, which was great and probably just getting probably some of my favorite memories sometimes were just sitting in a room with him, because I always call it the Nick Saban rule where the head coaches couldn't go out on the road to spring recruiting anymore when he was at LSU, probably because he was out working people.
Right.
But so we had our own kind of spring recruiting. A lot of times me and him in the office watching players, and if coaches were out on the road recruiting, if Bo Davis or Kirby or somebody or Jeremy Pruitt saw, hey, we need to look at this player. And I remember Jeremy Pruitt calling one time, and he was talking about, he's like, man, there's this big guy at Yulee, Florida. He's like, I don't know what he is, but I don't know if he's a tight end or linebacker. He's like, heck, he'd probably be a big running back, whatever. And Pruitt's like, get Coach Saban to watch him. It was Derrick Henry, But, you think about some of the players kind of the first time, whether it was Devontae Smith, the first time you got to sit in there and watch those guys, with Coach Saban, which was really neat. And I tell you, he was, I just love, because he had such a good eye for, if a guy was stiff or kind of, you could kind of coach something out of him. And another good example was Quentin Williams, who, was committed to Auburn at the time. And he was kind of he didn't know whether he was going to be a defensive tackle or a defensive end. And we hadn't offered him yet. But Coach Saban was like, well, every time this guy had come to our football camp, he'd gotten better. He'd taken coaching, whether it was his hands or his feet, he'd gotten better. And it was kind of like, well, what's his body going to take him to be a interior guy or defensive end? And he started out at defensive end, but, he kind of, transitioned interior and ended up being, I guess, third pick in the draft, playing for the Jets. But, I always thought he was so good at kind of, projecting, and then just the management of the roster. I always thought he did a good job of knowing, hey, this DB we've got here, Minkah Fitzpatrick, well, hey, he's only going to be here 3 years. He's playing that good as a freshman. So we better, go ahead and have his backup plan, coming up, or a young guy's not good enough. We may need to go get a junior college player or something. I always thought he was so elite with an eye for talent and projecting what was coming up. So, but it was some great memories, and I've learned so much from him, and always so grateful. I wouldn't be where I am today without his helping me and everything I learned from him.
Jody, let me follow up on the Derrick Henry story, because like you said, when he was at Yulee, it was a man among boys, but there were so many recruiting analysts and even coaches that just said he'll never play running back in college, and wanted to look at him as a defensive end or a linebacker, or even a tight end. But Alabama recruited him. He was committed to Georgia originally, recruited him, got him committed, and saw him as a running back. Talk about the evaluation process that you guys had with Derrick Henry.
I think Coach Saban, even with a lot of the star players, like he may have known, this guy thinks he's a receiver, but he's really going to be a DB. He would kind of let them, start out that area, and kind of eventually, if they're competitive, they're like, man, I can be the starting corner, but I'm probably I'm a second team receiver, a third team receiver. And, they kind of transition and figure out, hey, if I want to get on the field, I better switch positions. But Derrick Henry, though, watching him, because it's really hard for running backs that are so high cut, that are tall a lot of times. Like he's the definition of what you would call, long leg, high cut, not a really tall torso. Very, very, I'm trying to think of another running back that's even built like him. It is rare.
It's very rare.
And I think, when Derrick first got here, but he was just such a competitor, and of course it wasn't the biggest ball, but it doesn't matter. Like he either outran you or ran you over. You took your pick, but you were not going to tackle him. So if you got his way, you got ran over. If you just tried to run him down, he's going to outrun you and different things. But, I think, when he first got there that first spring and everything, I think, he was so used to just taking a ball and just, we call it man-child his way down the field sometimes. So, Coach Burns did such a good job, Burton Burns, who I think is one of the best running back coaches in the history of football. But, I think Burton kind of did a good job of kind of like, hey, just calm down, and, guess what? You can't run it that way you did in high school when we played the LSU Tigers. They're going to have those holes are going to close up, and you got to be patient sometimes and press a hole and different things. And I always thought Derrick was so good. If you could if you could get him 2 or 3 steps, like get him going, you know, sometimes we run those outside zone stretch plays. And if he could get 2 or 3 steps and kind of get that big 18-wheeler going, it was better not be in the past. But no, I do think what you were talking about other positions, I do think he could have played defensive end or linebacker as well, and probably made it to the NFL in those, just, you know, the type of, he's just a football player. But kudos to Derek for saying, you know what, I believe in myself, and I'm the best running back, and I'm going to find a way, you know.
Well, it's worked out. Hey, Coach, before we close this out, great influence of all the coaches that you've played and worked under. But I want to ask you about your dad, because I've had Josh on, and you, as I said, you grew up in the ultimate football family, man. I mean, you grew up the son of a coach, and the late Lynn Wright was a legend in high school coaching. That experience, what was that like? Growing up with a dad who was a coach, and then getting an opportunity to play for him, for you and your brothers.
You know, it was amazing. You know, I tell people I probably learned how to change a face mask before I could read.
How about that?
But, you know, so I was messing with our equipment manager the other day. I was like, hey, if you ever need to know how to change a face mask, I learned how to do that when I was like 4 or 5. But you know, me and my brothers, Josh and Jonathan, got run on those sidelines, you know, and see my dad make the influence he did on players. But, you know, and I think back at, I was telling our team, I said, when we have a break at practice, I'm going to make everybody put their helmets on the line, and they got to turn their face mask in, because that's what my dad made me do. I said, it probably had nothing to do with putting your helmet on the line and turning your face mask in a certain way. Didn't have anything to do with winning the football game, but it was just a discipline, like an Army-type tactic to say, well, guess what? If one player can't do that, we're all going to run. You know, and just like everybody's going to do things a certain way, you know, just the discipline of things. And you know, and that was one thing I always thought he did such a great job of, and, you know, and just winning habits. And, you know, always thought he did such a good job of the fundamentals, and whether it was blocking and tackling, and we were not going to lose a game by turning the ball over or not playing solid special teams and things like that. And, you know, and then getting to work for Coach Saban, some days I would see things, you know, his big emphasis on not turning the ball and penalty, you know, and I think man, same thing my dad, you know, tried to instill in us, and being fortunate. But, you know, I think it goes back to, you know, the trying to get winning people and doing winning habits. And, you know, I'm a big believer on, you know, I want to be involved in the community. My grandmother, Carolyn Howell, ran a shoe store down in Jackson, Alabama. She just retired. She's living in Tuscaloosa now, but sweetest Christian woman in the history of the world, in my opinion. But you know, she ran a shoe store, but people would come in there not to buy shoes, but just because the way she treated people, you know, and that's one thing I told my staff. I was like, hey, you know, in this community and campus and everything, we're going to, you know, we got to treat people the right way to get them to buy in. And same thing I told our players. I said, hey, we're going to go out here and try to get people to fill these stands up. When you go out in the community, you're going to be nice to all these people, because you're not going to ask them to come watch you play if you're going to, you know, if you don't care enough to speak to them or do kind things out in the community stuff. But just some great habits, you know, I learned from my dad. You know, seeing him win state championships. Yep. One thing, last thing I'll say about it, you know, one thing that I always thought he did a good job of was if he could find an offensive lineman that had no business starting on a team, but somehow he could get them to make them think they were a lot better than they were. You know, whether he gave them a nickname or something, and he could kind of get the most out of all of them, you know, and I think that kind of says the most about you as a coach sometimes. Did you get the most out of your team? And sometimes it may not be a championship or trophy, but did you get the most out of your teams? And you know, going back to, you know, I think Coach Saban, you know, just talking about him, I think probably one of his best coaching jobs may have been this past season.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that to get Alabama basically, you know, one play from probably winning the national championship. But you know, I think sometimes that's how you measure, you know, did you get the most out of your team? And hopefully 10, 20 years down the road, they're good, productive citizens in the community and winners in life. You know.
Well, Coach, listen, man, I've enjoyed the conversation. Thrilled for you for this opportunity at Murray State. We're going to be watching you closely, and of course, I'll be covering Josh and Jonathan. And we're out of time, but I'm going to get you back on. And one thing I'm going to ask you about, and Josh too, and Jonathan, is AISA football and what may be happening to that in the future. I know you're a product of it, and it's tough times in the AISA. But we'll save that for another day. But thank you so much, Coach.
Gary, thank you so much. And I've got your app on my phone, man. I still try to plug in, listen anytime I can. Every time, especially if I have time to get a good walk in the morning or something. So.
Well, we appreciate you, man. Look forward to seeing you there at Murray State. We'll talk again soon, okay?
All right, Gary. Tell them we need some good Murray State. They're not rooting for the Crimson Tide. They come root for the FCS.
Oh, absolutely. You're gonna have, right? you got fans down here, man. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate you so much.
All right, great stuff with Jody Wright. We'll be back to wrap up the first hour right after this. As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3.
So don't wait. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, because every breath matters.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, money.
Your best bet for big wins is just minutes away at Birmingham Racecourse Casino, where you can be a winner too. Off I-459, exit 31, Derby Parkway.
You're listening to the Gary Harris Show. On your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:57. That's going to wrap it up for hour number one. It's been brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. Boy, really good to catch up with Jody Wright. And real quick, Justin and listeners, you heard Jody Wright in that interview, and that's who Jody Wright is, man. Just the most down-to-earth, good guy, has paid his dues. Really happy for him to get this opportunity as a head coach at Murray State. Now, listen, he's got his work cut out for him. They were 2-9 last year. But, again, what a resume, man. And some of the coaches that he's worked for, he rattled them off. But he's ready for this, and really excited for him and great to visit with him. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the first hour. Hour number two, we're going to get started with On3 Sports bracketologist James Fletcher, plus Jess Spiegel. We'll hear from Nate Oates. We'll take more phone calls. Another hour's on the way right here on top.
LUMEdeodorant.com, code 222, and get an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack. That's LUMEdeodorant.com, code 222.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour specials. And for the best Mexican cuisine in West Alabama, remember, the name is Los Tarascos with locations in Tuscaloosa and Northport.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Nick Cope.
Wednesday night in the NBA, the Lakers erased a 21-point fourth-quarter deficit to beat the Clippers 116-112, and it was LeBron James who took over.
Out near the timeline, the Clipper logo, down by 5. LeBron, 4.5 to play. Let's fly again! He's got it!
Unreal. He putting on a show tonight.
Spectrum Sportsnet, LeBron totaled 34 points as he outscored the Clippers by himself in the fourth quarter 19-16. ESPN reports the Hornets are hiring Nets executive Jeff Peterson to be their head of basketball operations. And the NFL Commanders owner Josh Harris is taking part of interviews with top quarterbacks at the Combine. And in college basketball, Caitlin Clark passed former Jayhawk great Lynette Woodard to become the all-time leading scorer in women's basketball history.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
A bill making its way through the legislature would outlaw offices of diversity, equity, and inclusion in state agencies, public schools, colleges, and universities. It's getting pushback from the UA students who oppose it. The Tuscaloosa City Council Public Safety Committee split on whether to rename a stretch of 18th Avenue after Ramesh Paramsetti, the founder and medical director of Crimson Network. The city has recently renamed several roads. The Alabama men's basketball team overcame a sluggish first half to come from behind and beat Ole Miss in Oxford 103-88.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, here we go. Hour number 2, the Gary Harris Show. Gary Harris, Justin Jones. And this hour being brought to you, as always, by Patterson Comer Attorneys at Law. Paul Patterson and Mike Comer. They do it right. Feet on the ground in West Alabama. I think that's important. I talk about it all the time. Those 1-800 law firms, yeah, they're gonna work for you if they take your case, certainly. But you know what they might do? They might take the first offer that the insurance company gives them. You know, Paul Patterson and Mike Comer are going to go with you all the way. And they're going to work for you to make sure you maximize and get what you deserve. That's their promise. Their workday does not end. At the end of the workday, they're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Paul's in Tuscaloosa at 205-345-1000. Mike's in Northport at 205-759-3939. If you need a personal injury attorney, Patterson Comer Attorneys at Law, that's my recommendation. They've worked for me. I know how good they are. And remember, they work on contingency. If they take your case, there's never a penny out of your pocket unless they collect for you. Paul Patterson and Mike Comer, PattersonComerLawFirm.com.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of services performed by other lawyers.
All right, we're going to jump out on the Krispy Kreme Donuts hotline for hour number 2 and begin with James Fletcher, who is a bracketologist for On3 Sports. Used to work here at Tide 100.9 FM way back in the day, but now he's tracking college basketball and kind of laying it out and getting ready for March Madness. Good morning, James. How you doing, buddy?
Morning, Gary. It's great to be back on those Tuscaloosa airwaves.
Well, good to have you on. University of Alabama graduate, now based in Memphis and working for On3. Before we get into the bracketology, how did this opportunity come about for you? This is a really good growing company.
Yeah, it's been really great. Been here with On3 since really the ground level. Got a message pretty much straight out of college. Did some internships over the summer after I graduated there in 2021. And got contacted and got in on the ground floor on the national news desk here at On3 before we launched. And from there have just tried to make the most of my opportunities and climb the ladder within the company. And they've been great to me. And just a really great opportunity, like you said, to keep growing and keep making my name in this business, hopefully.
Well, your CEO, Shannon Terry, I've known him since the 90s. He's probably revolutionized the recruiting and team side industry more than any other person in the world. So good for you. Happy for you. All right, let's get into bracketology. I know you're tracking it now, every game, every night. What goes into being a bracketologist? Give us an idea of what your day is like each day, particularly now that we're into late February and March begins tomorrow. Trying to track all this, I guess it's very fluid, and I guess it kind of changes from night to night, right?
Right. You really can't develop any set opinions because you know it's going to change every night. Something across college basketball is going to change how you feel or what the numbers say, because this is really a balance of two things here. You've got to look at the analytics, those computer numbers, all of the data that you're being given, and you've got to fit it into this mold that the selection committee has given us, where certain teams can't be in the bracket with other teams. You've got certain regional affiliations that you've got to play along with. And so once you figure out where this team has to go and who can't be in the same bracket as them, then from there, you look at those computer numbers, you get an understanding of what the data says, and then after that, then it is a lot of watch college basketball, make sure that you're in tune with all the teams that are around that bubble, all those teams that are up near the top that could be potential 1 seeds or get a chance to host a regional as a top 4 seed, and make sure that you've got a good grasp of the eye test with those teams. So that's been a lot of what it is, a lot of watching college basketball, and then a lot of waking up in the morning, what I was doing right before I hopped on with you, and running numbers and just checking in to make sure that the data has remained consistent with the teams that are in those important spots at the top and they're on the bubble.
Yeah, because I'm glad you laid it out that way, because let's be clear on this. As a bracketologist, your job is, like you said, to take the criteria NCAA Selection Committee uses and try to project based on what they're going to do. This is not what you think is going to happen, or your opinions don't come into it at all. You're strictly trying to use the criteria to project the field based on what you think the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee is going to do, right?
Right, that's correct. And that's actually, we saw a little bit of a shift. A couple weeks ago, the selection committee gave us their top 16 teams. And so once that happened, I had to make a decision, because from there, I was just going based off that data and based off the eye test. Well, after that happened, I didn't have North Carolina as the 5th overall team in the country. I had that distinction going to Tennessee. I thought that they were just a little bit better, thought their resume looked a little bit better. But once the selection committee tells me that North Carolina is the 5th overall team and they're the top team on that 2-seed line, I've got to go with that. I can't change that unless I feel like something has happened that would move Tennessee above them when we get to Selection Sunday. So for me right now, North Carolina is that 5th team, Tennessee still 6th, right behind them. But we've got a game going on between Alabama and Tennessee this weekend that could definitely change that.
Yeah, speaking of the Crimson Tide, good effort last night to come back on the road in Oxford and 64 points in the second half. Where is Alabama at right now as we speak this morning?
Yeah, Alabama currently on the 3-seed line, and they've got the upward mobility. They can definitely get to a 2-seed. They right now are really neck and neck with Iowa State to become that top overall seed on the 3 line to get their preference of which of the remaining regions they want to host. But they've got that upward mobility. Like I said, they can move up onto that 2-seed line if they can pick up a win this weekend. I think that would go a long way towards making them in the conversation to move up and take a spot from somebody who is just above them.
What are the 4 number 1 seeds at this point?
Well, right now we've got Purdue number 1 overall, and then you've got UConn. Houston follows those 2, and then you've got Arizona in that 4th spot. And those top 3 really, I mean, they're pretty much locked in. You're not going to see Purdue, UConn, or Houston as a 2-seed or lower in the NCAA tournament. They have separated themselves from the rest of the field with their resume, what they've been able to do with quad 1 wins, and have really kind of just separated from the field overall. Even with the eye test, those 3 teams are the best teams in college basketball throughout the regular season. So I think you've got those 3 locked in, and then that last spot's going to be up for grabs, because Arizona right now has the best computer numbers, but they're also right there with teams like Tennessee, teams like North Carolina. When you look at that eye test and you take into account that the Pac-12 is just not very strong this year. So if you're Arizona, you've really got to hold on to that last 1-seed spot, because those teams, North Carolina, Tennessee in particular, they're coming for it, and they have the ammunition left on their schedule to get that job done.
On 3 bracketologist James Fletcher with us. Back to Alabama. So you think there's potential still to move up to the 2 line, and let's say that Alabama struggles down the stretch a little bit, loses Saturday night, maybe loses at Florida. Would 4 line be the worst, or could they potentially drop all the way to the 5 if they don't finish out strong?
Yeah, I think if all they do is lose the games against good opponents, then I think you're talking about the worst that could happen is probably a 4-seed slide. Now, you start talking about dropping that last game of the season to Arkansas. You add in potentially a 4th straight loss in the SEC tournament to a lesser opponent, somebody who might be in quadrant 3, because we talk about the quadrant system. And really, quad 1 and quad 2 is where you add value by winning those games. In quad 3 and quad 4, really the only thing that can happen is you can lose value if you lose those games. They don't really care if you win those games. That doesn't do anything for your resume. But if they lose to an Arkansas, if they lose to whoever it is, say a Vanderbilt, in the SEC tournament, that would then put them in danger of going down into that 5-seed conversation. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, based on what we've seen from Alabama, I think they're pretty much in a tight window between upside is 2-seed and downside is a 4-seed.
James, right now, of course, A&M is reeling. How many SEC teams do you have projected in the field?
right now I believe I have 7 who are pretty much locked into the NCAA tournament. And then you've got those 2 that, like you said, have been reeling. You've got Texas A&M. They're really struggling. And it's been interesting to see, because this is a team that has those quad 1 wins that we talk about that are so important to your resume, but they keep losing games outside of those top 2 quadrants. They lost to Arkansas. They lost to Vanderbilt. And like I said with Alabama, those are the ones that move you down the seed line and can really kill you with the selection committee. So they're still in the right now I've got them in that first 4 out, but I think that they could slip even lower if they can't get things righted and get some big wins coming up here in these last 2 games. And then Ole Miss, who we saw drop a game to Alabama last night, they really need that resume-defining win. They don't have a win over that team that makes you say, well, they are definitely a legit contender because they beat whatever team it is. A lot of their wins that look like good wins have kind of slipped up in recent weeks, don't maybe look as good as they did at the time. So if you're Ole Miss and you're Texas A&M, you've really got to do a lot of work here in this last week, and then in the SEC tournament to make sure that the committee goes with 9 SEC teams rather than 7 or 8.
James, where do you have Auburn at right now?
Auburn right now, I believe, is on the 3 or 4 line. I think right now they're probably going to pop out as a 4 seed when I rerun these numbers here a little later in the day and get up a bracketology update tonight. But Auburn's similar to Alabama. They've got kind of an upward mobility for about a seed line. They can get up into that 3 seed conversation again. If things go south, I think they could fall down into that 5 seed conversation as well.
All right, a couple of schools that are just up the road. Let's start with Samford. Of course, their goal is to win the SoCon and get an automatic qualifier spot. They've had an unbelievable season. Any chance Samford could get in as an at-large, or do they have to win their conference championship?
I think they really need to sell out on that conference tournament championship because right now they are in that 12 seed conversation, which means that they're close to the bubble. They're not far off from it in terms of their resume. You could put their name in with some of these other teams that we talk about, those Texas A&Ms, and the metrics would come out a little bit similar. But what those teams like Texas A&M have is they have those quad 1 wins that the selection committee really likes. And they've proven it against top teams at some point during the season. Samford just hasn't had the opportunities to beat some of those really good teams throughout the season. And so for Samford, I think you've got to count on winning that conference championship. Obviously, they were able to secure a share of the regular season title, and that's going to help them a lot just in terms of the momentum. But if you're Samford, you've built a really good resume. It'd be a shame to see them miss the tournament, but I think you've really got to go all in on that conference tournament to make sure that you're dancing in March.
UAB's at 18-10. They're 4th in the American Conference. Any chance they could play themselves into the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody yesterday about the American Athletic Conference and how crazy it is that it feels like every team in that conference is just good enough to make you think, wow, that's a good game, that's a good opponent, but not good enough to really help your resume in a meaningful way. We've seen Florida Atlantic just fall a little bit below what we thought they were throughout the season. Memphis, of course, had a huge slide from what we thought they were midway through this year. Even teams like Charlotte, North Texas, and SMU, who at some point had moved up in the analytics, they've kind of fallen back to the pack, and we've seen South Florida separate themselves but still not have the data to back up that they're one of the top teams. So I think that if you're UAB, you don't really have enough left in terms of resume-defining wins to get you up into that conversation. You're going to have to go on a run in that American Athletic Conference tournament.
All right, James, great stuff. But go close it out again with Alabama. So if Alabama wins the SEC regular season championship, will that be enough to get them on the 2 line?
I think the regular season championship, that does go a long way because that means that you beat Tennessee. I think that gets them into that 2-seed conversation this weekend. Of course, it means you probably wrap things up on the road against Florida, which is a huge win if you can pull that off. So it definitely gets them there. But, you know, like always with bracketology, like I said in that opening response, it's a fickle thing. And so that doesn't mean that you can go and then immediately lose in the first round of the SEC tournament. But it does get them into that 2-seed conversation. It makes them a real contender to be a 2 on Selection Sunday.
Well, Nate Oates has been a 2 seed, has been the number 1 overall seed, and in contention again for a 2 seed this year. Remarkable. All right, fill all the listeners in on how they can track you on social media and where they can find you at On3.
Yeah, of course, you can check out on3.com and find all my work there, or you can go to my social media page. I'm at JDFletch3 pretty much everywhere. Twitter is where I post all of my work, and so you can find everything there, and podcast appearances as well. So be sure to check that out, and thanks for having me on. Like I said, it's great to be back on the airwaves in Tuscaloosa and talking basketball again.
Thank you, James.
All right.
All right, it's 10:17, the Gary Harris Show. Hey, if you're a young gentleman out there listening and it's prom season, which it is right around the corner, you want to look your best, there's one place to go. T-Town Menswear, T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. Tom and the folks there, they can make you, they can make your prom experience special, and he can absolutely custom fit you from head to toe. Whatever you want. If you want something traditional, he can help you with that. If you want something maybe that's a little bit contemporary, maybe a little bit flashy, that's not a problem either. Your prom will be memorable if you look.
Deal or text DEAL to 511-511. Text DEAL to 511-511. All pets are unique. Your pet's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply. Studies available upon request.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's Management Dream Team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The weather cool and dry today. The sky partially sunny, the high 55. Tonight becoming cloudy, a chance of some light rain after midnight, the low 44. Tomorrow a cloudy and cool day with occasional rain. Tomorrow's high at 56. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 44 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Want to know what's going on with the Crimson Tide? Download the Tide 100.9 app today.
All right, 10:21. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. Jeff Spiegel coming up at 10:30. Right now, I'm joined in studio by one of our sponsors, one of our great sponsors, Houston Hydro Steam. Jackie Houston is with us, and you've heard me say this before. When you're a local business and you've been in business for nearly 40 years, really all you need to say. Quality work you can stand on. That's the motto. Jackie, a couple minutes want to visit with you because I know right before holidays you're really, really busy. We're into a new year, and Houston Hydro Steam is ready for not just carpet cleaning needs, but upholstery, tile, grout problems in the shower. You guys can handle any major cleaning need, residential or in home.
Yes, sir. We sure can, Gary, and thank you again for having me on. It's just, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for all the support you've given us over the radio. Spring is right upon us, and a lot of people have outdoor cushions that have gotten dirty and mildewed and all that stuff. We come by people's homes, we pick up them cushions, we bring them to our shop, we can clean them, we can store them for you till the pollen's over, we can get those things looking nice and fresh for you. Grout cleaning is a big deal. We're doing some today. A lot of people just don't realize grout gets dirty over time, and over time, you just kind of get used to it. And a lot of people don't realize how great it can actually look.
I'm glad you mentioned the outdoor furniture, though, because that's something that I don't think a lot of people think about as far as getting it clean. But when it sits out there through the winter, even if it's covered, like you said, moisture, mildew, it's a great service to be able to get that stuff spick and span for your grilling season, for your outdoor season, which is right around the corner. Well, certainly. And we just picked up several yesterday, and the lady could not believe just how, impeccable they looked after we got finished cleaning them. And I said, well, we've been doing that service for a long time. So, and a lot of people don't realize that. And, with spring coming around the corner, it's just a great time to get things freshened up, cleaned up, spiffed up, Indeed it is. Professionally trained technicians, free estimates, and I know that's one thing that you pride yourself on is giving the people their money's worth and no hidden charges or fees. In other words, the price that you get quoted is the price that you're going to pay.
Well, and so many times people will call a service and they'll get a price over the phone. Well, when that person shows up to do the work,
it's different.
They find out that, hey, this is not what you quoted me. So what I like to do is go out and take a look at their job, see exactly what it is they need, because I'm trained to tell them, look, you need to do this, you need to do that, give them a price, and it doesn't change.
That's the way you stay in business for 40 years.
Well, thank you very much.
I mean, you got a track record and quality service, results that people expect that they get, and you get it. All right, tell people how they can get in touch with you if they need some cleaning needs.
Well, certainly, there's a lot of ways to get in touch with us. Our number is all over our vans. Certainly, if you see that all over town, but our phone number at the office, and my secretary's name is Tracy, is 205-553-9460. And we would certainly love it if you just give us a call and let me come by and talk to you.
Yeah, and a great website too, HoustonHydroSteam.com. That's HoustonHydroSteam.com. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you very much, Gary. Y'all have a great day.
All right, Jackie Houston with us in studio. All right, I want to give you an update on the PGA Tour event that's going on down in South Florida, the Cognizant Classic in the Palm Beaches. And Nick Dunlap is playing this week, and he is playing well. Obviously the great story with him winning the PGA Tour event out at Palm Springs as an amateur, turning pro. He missed his first couple of cuts, but right now through 13 holes, he is at -4, and that's good for the tie for 9th right now. So he's playing really well. Several other former Bama golfers in the field, but Nick Dunlap right now tied for 9th with let's see. He's still got no par 5s left, but he's got 5 holes to go. Got a par 3, 2 par 3s, and 3 par 4s to finish out. If he could get to 5 or 6 under, be in really, really, really good shape. So we'll be tracking Nick Dunlap and all the Bama guys. JT not playing this week, but Rory McIlroy is probably, there's no probably to it. He's the biggest name in the field, and McIlroy right now is tied with Dunlap at -4. And McIlroy's through 14 holes. He's playing 1 hole ahead of Dunlap. And the leader right now is Chad Ramey, who is 7 under through 15. And you got 3 others tied at -6. So that's something we'll be keeping an eye on. All right. I still want to get to the Nate Oates audio. We don't have time right now, but we are going to have Jeff Spiegel in the next segment. And then in that final segment, of course, if we get a phone call, we'll take a phone call. But outside of that, we will play Nate Oates' postgame comments last night after that big win over the Ole Miss Rebels. All right, it's 10:27 here on the Gary Harris Show. We're going to go ahead and get to our break. We're going to come back with Speegs from ABC 3340. Visit with him.
Ads and rotors together, you'll save 15%. It's just part of what makes us America's #1 brakes destination.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time at the Tuscaloosa Championship Golf Course. Everyone can play. 205-562-3201. Old Colony is operated by Para.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after-hours events, rehearsal dinners, receptions, and birthdays. They offer brunch and lunch catering. Call Brick and Spoon at 205-345-5551 for more information. Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Visit alabamacu.com to learn more. Some rules and restrictions apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. When you hear Take It Easy, you know it's time for Jeff Spiegel, who is a laid back and taking it easy kind of guy, and we're glad to have him with us every Thursday to talk some ball. Of course, Jeff, longtime sports anchor at ABC 3340 and host of The Zone on Sunday nights. Hey, Jeff, good morning.
Hey, Gary, good morning. How are you?
Doing great, man. Good to have you as always. And, you know, I'm here in Tuscaloosa having an anchoring show, so I don't get, I miss the days when I did play-by-play for the state tournament. Miss it a lot. But, you know, we get some people over there to cover games. Of course, you guys are all on top of it. But what a great event. And, it's just, I think not just for high school. I think it's one of the great sporting events in the state of Alabama every year. Don't you?
Yeah, I agree. And I can't remember exactly what year they decided to move them all to Birmingham. It was sometime in the 90s, I think. But it was one of the best things the AHSAA, you know, has ever done. And I know sometimes, you know, we can be critical of, you know, things they do and decisions they make. And that's easy for us to be armchair quarterbacks when it comes to, you know, an important job, you know, like they have. But I think that's one of the coolest things they've ever done is move that to that facility.
So much talent over there on display on both the boys and the girls side. But yesterday, Helena, they gave Buckhorn a game, but you know, when it was winning time, Caleb Holt, the just brilliant sophomore, from Buckhorn, he took over that game in the fourth quarter, Jeff.
Yeah, he did. And I knew Helena plays really good defense. Mm-hmm. And I knew in the first quarter that, you know, when I saw that, you know, Holt had a couple of fouls and no points, I said, well, you know, Helena's doing a really good job on him, you know. And then he puts 11 up in the second quarter. Yeah. And then in the second half, of course, you know, he just exploded.
Yeah.
And he scored 26 in the second half, and they couldn't do anything with him. And not only that, it's not just the points, but you look at the whole line. It was like 37 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks, 6 steals. He was all over the place. And Helena just had no answers for him. A friend of mine who went to the game said Buckhorn was not the better team than Helena, but there was no better player on the floor than Caleb Holt. And he's only a sophomore.
Yeah, it's remarkable. He's got a chance to be the number 1 overall player in the class of 2026. There's no doubt about it. What a finish with Mountain Brook and Carver Montgomery, two terrific programs. And that was a memorable game.
Yeah, it really was. You know, it was low scoring. There was you know, you didn't have the points, you know, that certainly, you know, you would see, but that's kind of what Mountain Brook does. You know, they kind of grind it out. They defend you. They make you earn stuff, and they've got some, you know, just some hard-nosed guys who bring their lunch pail and they put the work in. And you know, Ty Davis is a great player for them. He's the coach's son, and he's going to Creighton. He had 13, and he's just a really solid player and a great leader for that team. And now Mountain Brook's got another shot. You know, Buckhorn beat them last year, and now the Spartans have another shot at the Bucks.
And on the boys side as well, big story for us here in Tuscaloosa and you too, American Christian Academy. Blake Thrasher, the former Alabama player, their head coach, battling cancer, had to step away. Austin Grammer, who played at ACA and went to a Final Four as a player, is the interim head coach, and they're 1 win away from a state championship. And with all the emotion surrounding that program, what an incredible season. Now Jackson's going to be tough later on this on Friday evening, but this ACA team, they got something special going on, Jeff.
They do. They have a lot of heart on that team, and certainly they're playing for something bigger than themselves. And you know, I appreciate the way that Austin's kind of held things together there. And you know, some of these guys that, you know, kind of pop up on our radar, Gary, you know, at this time of year, but Eric Hines has certainly been a big player for them. Yeah, 17 points, 19 rebounds or something like that. He got in the game, I think, a couple of days ago. So he's terrific. And And, they're just playing with a lot of spirit, toughness, and competitive fire right now.
Couple of teams I want to ask you about on the girls' side here in Tuscaloosa. Hillcrest yesterday jumped out 16-4 over Hazel Green, but you're not the 6-time defending state champions for nothing. And Hillcrest had that big lead. They led at half, but much like we saw with Buckhorn against Helena in the fourth quarter, Hazel Green was able to put it away against a really strong Hillcrest team.
Well, Gary, I think there's something to be said for experience, right?
Yeah.
There's something to be said for having been there and done that. And I think Helena kind of fell into that. They led for 23 minutes of that 32-minute game, Helena did, but couldn't close it out. Now, part of it was they couldn't stop Caleb Holt. Part of it was they just didn't know how to close out games. And I think you could probably look at it the same way with the Hillcrest Patriots. You're going against a team that has won 6 state championships in a row. This is old hat to them. This is nothing. This is just like a normal game for them. Well, it was anything but normal, for Hillcrest. And when you've got the lead and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, we're about to pull off this upset, that's when you start getting in trouble. Because then you start playing tentatively, and then you start doing things that are uncharacteristic of how you got the 21-17 halftime lead and 16-4 lead. And then that's when the superior team, from a maturity standpoint, can kind of take things over.
All right, Jeff. You and I both know we follow high school sports in this state. That in Class 1A girls, Spring Garden is at a different level, and Coach Austin and his teams have been phenomenal. Now his daughter Ace is committed to Alabama. She's a star, and there's a lot of talk about shot clock and if nothing else, having it for the regional tournaments and the state tournaments because some people are playing stall ball. I give Elba credit for this. They engaged, but I don't think I'd ever seen this. Spring Garden led them 41-0 at half the other night. Jeff, have you ever seen anything like it?
No, I've never seen anything like it. And look, Ricky Austin is one of the coolest dudes you'd ever want to meet. He's a nice guy. He's a guy who's he's salt of the earth, so he's not going to run up the score on you, but you got to let your kids play, and he wasn't trying to embarrass Elba.
Not at all.
By any stretch of the imagination, but you teach your kids to do what? You teach them to score.
Yeah. And compete.
And you teach them to play defense.
Yeah.
And
they played some defense.
no one did that better than Spring Garden in the first half.
And I give Elba credit. They didn't try to play stall ball. And, they came back. It's not a lot, but they got 16 points in the second half. They were only outscored 21-16 in the second half. So they deserve credit, too, because we've seen some other teams, Jeff, and I want to get your thoughts on it. I was talking with Barry Sanders about it yesterday, about shot clock. And I understand in some of these small rural schools during the regular season, it can be a challenge. But don't you think, at least for the regional tournaments where you're playing in college arenas, and obviously for the state championships you're playing in Legacy Arena, maybe you can't do it for the regular season. I would like to see a shot clock for the postseason. Your take?
Well, I'd like to see it in the postseason, but in some sense too, I would think that would be a little unfair. To ask someone to change their approach when you get to the bigger, biggest games of the year. So that they got to install the shot clock. They got to do it the whole year. You got to do it the whole year to make it work. And here's the thing about teams that stall, and they do it against, and we saw this in the regionals when McAdory was playing Bryant. Bryant, just a very explosive ball team, and they had a lead over McAdory, and then they pulled the ball out with about 3.5 minutes to go, and they started stalling. And then all of a sudden, you've lost your offensive flow. Mm-hmm. You've got no offensive flow anymore. And then McAdory just kind of took the game over, and then wound up winning it, with a 3-point play there with 0.4 seconds to go, I think. So, stall can, it's a strategy to play keep away, but you're also, in many senses, keep your team from doing what they do best, and that's running their offense and trying to score.
Yeah, good points. All right, Alabama last night, after getting just shellacked by Kentucky, did not look good early, fell down by 15. 64 points in the second half. They closed out the first half on a nice little run. Sears got a 3-pointer at the buzzer to get within 3. And then, we saw Alabama at their best in that second half. They ran Ole Miss out of the gym. And now, of course, that sets up the mega game against Tennessee this Saturday night at Coleman Coliseum.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, Gary. College game day is going to be there. I mean, the atmosphere is just going to be just crazy good. And Tennessee made a statement last night in that game against Auburn. And Dalton Connect was just unbelievable. 39 points for him. He knocked down 5 from long range, and they just couldn't do anything with him. He outscored the entire Auburn team 25-21 in the last 12 minutes.
Yeah, because Auburn was controlling that game, and then you're right, Connect happened. Yeah, they got connected.
That's how much took over. Yeah. So, and for a team, Gary, that's been struggling on defense, and listen, they gave up 88 last night, and they're still not there. For a team that struggles playing defense, this guy's going to be a handful, and it should be a great game. It should be a classic game. I like Alabama to win, simply because they're playing at home and the atmosphere is just going to be crazy good. But if they can't guard, and they can't guard Dalton Connect, then that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, Connect on one end, Sears on the other for Alabama. That could be a shootout. Also for Alabama, Jeff, pardon me, is that if Alabama is able to win on Saturday night, even if they take a loss at Florida and come back and beat Arkansas at home, they're going to get at least a share of the SEC championship. So this is a huge game for both these teams, but for Alabama in particular, having to go to Florida. Of course, you've still got Tennessee. They've still got work to do. They still got to play, don't they still have to play South Carolina and Kentucky, I think. So, it's not done for them either, but the winner on Saturday night takes a big step. Real quick question on Auburn. Not that they're not a good team. They are a good team, but do you sense a little bit of disappointment? I know Bruce Pearl early on felt like this was an SEC championship caliber team, and they're probably not going to get if they went out, who knows, but more than likely not going to get a piece of the SEC championship.
Well, I think you'd be very disappointed if it weren't for the fact that, night in and night out, his team has played hard. And the only game this year where you can look at it and you go, what in the heck happened with them, was when they went to Gainesville and they just, laid an egg against Florida. But night in and night out, those guys have played hard. They've laid it on the line. And I don't sense any disappointment from Bruce in terms of, falling short of this goal. I still think this is a team that, is deep enough and is strong enough to give people some fits, in the postseason. You don't want to see Auburn come up on your side of the bracket, in the NCAA tournament. I think they can make some noise in March for sure.
All right, before we close it out, I want to ask you about Alabama football. Spring practice begins on Monday. We got an email sent out that we are going to have some viewing opportunities in spring, and, assistant coaches are going to be made available. So it's going to be a little bit different around here than it's been in the past. I know I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah, it will be different. Kalen DeBoer is going to run things differently than Nick Saban did. And he's shown that, he's pretty successful at doing it his way. Looking forward to meeting these assistant coaches and, getting to know them a little bit better. That's something that we really weren't able to do, during the Nick Saban era. But, it should be a fun spring. It should be an exciting spring, a lot of newness there, and look forward to seeing how it carries over into the fall as well.
All right, Jeff, of course, busy with the state basketball tournament and big college basketball weekend coming up. And, of course, Sunday night on the Zone, you always kind of tie it all up and put it in a bow.
Yeah, Sunday at 10:30 on ABC 3340. Really appreciate you, Gary. Hope you have a great day, man.
Thank you, Jeff. 10:44 here on the Gary Harris Show. The YMCA of Tuscaloosa is ready when you're ready. Simple as that. The Y sitting there at 2300 13th Street. Beautiful facility. Great organization led by Jeff Knox, the CEO. Terrific personal trainers, fitness classes, Silver Sneakers program for seniors. Daycare available to help you with your kids. You got to get by and see them at the Y. And like I said, when you're ready, the Y is ready for you. And if you want to look your best in June, you got to put the work in now. Get by and see them. 2300 13th Street, 205-345-9622, the Y of Tuscaloosa. We'll be back with one final segment. Phone calls are open on the Krispy Kreme Donuts hotline, 205-342-9904. We'll take calls if we get them. Also, we'll get to Nate Oates' post-game remarks from the Ole Miss game coming up next. As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free.
My caretaker was very rough with me. I thought they did it because I wasn't moving fast enough.
Elder abuse is a crime, and together we can stop it. If you or someone you know has been abused, neglected, or exploited, call the Adult Abuse Hotline at 1-800-458-7214. That's 1-800-458-7214.
Bass boats powered by Mercury for sale at the Lake Tuscaloosa Team Championship Weigh-In this Saturday at Fast and Easy on Highway 69 South in Tuscaloosa.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after-hours events, rehearsal dinners, receptions, and birthdays. They offer brunch and lunch catering. Call Brick and Spoon at 205-345-5551 for more information.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The weather cool and dry today. The sky partially sunny, the high 55. Tonight becoming cloudy, a chance of some light rain after midnight, the low 44. Tomorrow a cloudy and cool day with occasional rain. Tomorrow's high at 56. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
It's 44 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Alabama fans are all over the world, and we are too. Download the Tide 100.9 app right now in the App Store and Google Play, and take the Crimson Tide everywhere you go.
1048, welcome back into the Gary Harris Show here on Tide 100.9 FM, 1230 AM WTBC. All right, this is our last segment, so we want to get to Nate Oates because Alabama had that 64-point second half. They went over 100 points this season for the 9th time. That ties 95-96 Kentucky for the most in SEC history. 5 straight games over 95 points, which ties that Arkansas 40 minutes of hell team with Nolan Richardson that won the national championship. So a lot of good company for Alabama offensively. Here's Coach Oates post-game last night following the win over Ole Miss.
Look, Ole Miss, a lot of credit to their coaching staff. They were ready to come out and play. We did not do a great job at the start of the game. They obviously much more ready to play than we were. So I give them a lot of credit for having their guys ready to go. And, you know, when we need to do a better job on defense out of the gate. We get down 14. Thought our guys showed a ton of character, a lot of grit. I think we're down 16 at Georgia, if I remember right. So we've done this before where we've been able to come back. So the last 3 media timeout, 4-minute segments from the under 12 down, our defense was holding them to under a .9. The first 2 of the second half, so for a 20-minute stretch there from the under 12 to the under 12, we had them 5 straight 4-minute segments where we were under .9. So I thought our defense really kicked into gear, and we were able to take a lead and build it up. And we didn't close well. They lived at the free throw line the last 12 minutes, but offensively, we were able to take care of the ball, step to the free throw line, make free throws when we needed to, and hold them off. So proud of our guys. You know, got 2 guys I'm super happy for right now. I mean, Davin's had an unbelievable attitude all year, practiced hard, continues to get better on his defense. You know, Reitzel's out. He's been playing great for us. We needed a boost, and Davin had an unbelievable practice yesterday, so I told him, you're going to play. I'm going to find you some minutes in the first half, make sure you're ready to go on defense. I think you have to reward guys that practice hard and play well, and he did. And shoot, he comes out and scores 15 points on 10 field goal attempts, didn't even get to the free throw line, scores 15 points in 13 minutes. You can't get much more efficient than that. So, happy for him. And then we haven't had a triple-double here since Kira Lewis did it my first year. So, Aaron's been pushing it, been really close, 9 and 7. And shoot, the way he rebounded particularly on the offensive boards there at the start of the second half, and the way he moved the ball. I mean, he played 38 minutes and 18, 10, and 10 with only one turnover. So, again, it doesn't get much more efficient than that on the offensive end, too. So, great play out of a lot of guys. Sears plays 40 minutes and doesn't have a turnover. So, we've been on him about taking care of the ball. He does a great job taking care of the ball, and just had multiple guys step up tonight.
Yeah, Aaron, did you know you were close to the triple-double, and what do you think it is about your style that kind of lends itself to that?
Honestly, I didn't know that I was close to the triple-double. I was kind of just out there playing, trying to get a win, trying to do everything in my power, offensive rebounding, hitting guys for open shots. I think my last 3 assists actually came from Davin, too, so, that's it.
Matthew?
Yeah, and then Davin, obviously 15 points for you tonight. Let's talk about your performance and the progress that you've seen yourself make. And for Aaron, just kind of ask his teammate what you've been able to see from Davin progressing to this point.
I feel like all season I just had the role of helping my teammates, being the leader off the court, helping everybody else see what I see. And then, like I said, like Coach said, I waited my time, practiced hard. I had a great practice last practice. And when the time showed, I came and showed up.
Yeah, and just to pick up off of what Coach said, Davin, his attitude all season has been A+. I feel like just from observing when I'm playing and being around him, talking to him off the court, in the hotel, in the locker room and stuff, he never had a bad attitude. He never was, jealous, complaining or anything like that. So I'm actually happy for him as well. I think he deserves it. He always practices hard. He always goes hard every drill. So, I'm happy for him.
Anything else for Davin? Yeah, Davin, what's it like to have a coach that's going to reward good practice habits and reward hard work like that?
It's a blessing. I feel like, he's a great coach, and I learned a lot from him, and, he's keeping me to a high standard, and I'm glad I am held to a high standard.
I know he told you that you were going to play some first half minutes. Did you anticipate having, being able to play 13 minutes, getting the minutes that you had in the second half?
I didn't know how many minutes I was going to get. I just told him whatever role I got to play while I'm on the court, I would do it, regardless of just scoring or just playing defense. I'd rather focus on my defense. I lost myself in the game, and just let it flow.
He played really hard yesterday. I mean, he's been on the scout team pretty much all year. We had him playing Matthew Morrell, who can shoot it. He was 11 of 22 in practice yesterday from 3, but he was playing hard. Like, it wasn't just he was shooting. So he obviously made shots at a high clip, but he also played really hard. Now he turned it over a lot because he's trying to do his, I said, just don't turn the ball over. Get the defensive assignments down where I'll play you. And we played him. We needed his 15 points to win the game. It was big for us.
Again, just a triple-double for Aaron tonight. And just what have you seen from him kind of down the stretch of SEC play and in tonight's performance?
I think he's getting comfortable in the offense. He's figuring out where to get his shots, when he can attack, when not, how to find the shooters that are around him and shoot. I keep telling him he needs to quit passing up open threes. I mean, he's 2 of 4 tonight. He's got to hunt more catch and shoot threes. He's such a good shooter. He puts a lot of work in. So he deserves to have a good game because he's been playing so hard and he's about the right stuff. And, it's awesome. Think about all the pros we've had come through here. We've had 7 guys either get drafted or get guaranteed contract. Keon Ellis in the NBA since I've been here, only one of them. Kira Lewis has had a triple-double since I've been here. So that's some pretty good players. That Herb Jones was close. Brandon Miller could have, there's a lot of good basketball players that didn't get a triple-double since I've been here. That for him to do it's pretty big time.
All right, great stuff from Nate Oates. Also, Davin Cosby came in last night, 15 points, buddy, and they were big. And Aaron Estrada, you heard Coach say it, triple-double, 18, 10, and 10. And first guy since Kira Lewis Jr. to put a double on the board for Alabama. So impressive last night. Now the Tide gets ready for a game that could certainly go a long way. Pardon me. Certainly go a long way in deciding the SEC championship for the regular season on Saturday night. Against Tennessee, 8 p.m. inside Coleman Coliseum. Remember, game day that morning, and it's going to be a festive basketball atmosphere on Saturday here in Tuscaloosa, and we'll be ready for it. All right, coming up tomorrow at 9 a.m., Adam Amin is going to be back with us. He's already confirmed, Fox Sports play-by-play broadcaster, missed the last couple of weeks. He'll be back with us tomorrow, plus Brett Pritchard, the Auburn reporter, will have the Auburn report, and we'll be talking with the commissioner of the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference. Their tournament is in Tuscaloosa this week at Stillman College, even though Stillman is finishing out its last year in the Southern States Athletic Conference. So we'll have that conversation for you as well. Looking forward to that. Catch me on TV tonight with your local sports on WVUA 23. Getting ready for T-Town Sports Daily coming up at 11 a.m. The Miller's Edge from noon until 2, and then Fowler will take you home with the game from 2 until 6 this afternoon. For Justin Jones, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for listening, everybody. I want to thank our guest, Jody Wright. Also, James Fletcher, bracketologist for On 3, and Jeff Spiegel as well. Have a great day, everybody. I'll talk to you again in the morning for the TGIF edition of the Gary Harris Show.